Rationality Rules. Alright. The video, Free Will. I watched it. Okay, so yeah. Right, let's react to its thunder. Sam Harris.
We all experience what is known in philosophy as libertarian free will. That is, we feel like we are in control of our actions, and that in a given situation we could have done otherwise. You feel, for example, like you've chosen to listen to me right now, and that at any moment you can choose to stop. The problem, however, is that science is telling us, loud and clear and unequivocally, that while our feelings of free will are real.
Okay, so he placed the fallacy that of feelings that play in the existence of free will. Then what about people who really are ingrained into the undeniable existence of free will? Don't you mean something that you're going to debunk right now to me? So I'll have to see.
Free will itself is an illusion.
Freedom of itself is an illusion. Okay, I have a question. Then what are you free from? What are you free from? That's the biggest question. If you think freedom is an illusion, then why don't you actually do not care about all of humanity? Because freedom of expression means that you can express yourself. While if you don't have any free will to express yourself, then where the hell can you express yourself or have the free will to choose to express yourself differently?
Very powerful one, for sure, but still just an illusion. This is
double standard fallacy on the very judgmental introduction, dude. Very judgmental introduction. Wasn't expecting Steve Shive's level of unequivocally unscientific rant in the beginning of your video. Free will is an illusion. Free will is an illusion. Did you know that Hitler said that if you repeat everything again and again, repeat things again and again, and people will believe it? That's what you are doing. That's the dictatorial fallacy you have committed. It's a judgmental fallacy, basically.
Free will debunked. In 1999, the celebrated master of lateral thinking, Edward de Bono, was asked by the British Foreign Office to come up with a solution to the Arab-Israeli conflict in the Middle East, and to their bewilderment, his response was to give them a jar of Marmite. Now, while this seems absurd, his logic was nevertheless solid. In short, he reasoned that since the average person living in the affected geographic region has a zinc deficiency, and since a lack of zinc causes people to become irritable and belligerent, the way to resolve their
Okay, so nutrition-wise to relieve the cognitive dissonance. Oh, you think that's the only factors? Why you giving us a documentary? Introduction to something that's so absurd about a doctor prescribing Marmite to Marmite, the worst food supplement ever. Actually, no, it's not even food supplement. It's actually sludge. Oh gosh. Oh, imagine you give children the worst imaginable chocolate bar. Milk chocolate bar, for example, Hershey's. If you give them Hershey's, would they conform and silently obey to your request and show that there's no free will? Would they? Okay, would they?
Conflict is to send them endless supplies of the zinc-rich product.
You said it sounds ridiculous, but it's solid. But you have to remember, Marmite, yeast extract, give to people. Do you know what is yeast extract? Yeast extract is literally MSG. It's a substitute for MSG, monosodium glutamate. And do you know what monosodium glutamate does? I've been studying personal science, food science. That's why I handled foods like and ingredients, so-called seasoning. Oh no, Marmite is a seasoning. Yes, that's the point. Marmite is not a supplement.
That is Marmite. Now,
it's not a kind of food. It's not a food supplement. Because it's a seasoning. Yeast extract is seasoning. It's used to make food taste good. And you know, Marmite tastes quite... You know what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of food reaction videos out there on YouTube, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But this guy has just blatantly given us a really fallacious... Oh, no. Very questionable... personal, very questionable so-called empirical scientific evidence to this. Just because of an authoritative figure doesn't mean it's questionable. Doesn't mean it is reliable at its certainty. It's not at all certain. So,
I personally think that this is a stroke of genius, but
of course, let's play the anecdotal game. Well done. So, gosh, you're literally one step ahead of Steve Shives.
the reason I bring it up is not to interest you in De Bono's work, though if I had...
Interest you to De Bono's work? Why do you think everyone would interest you to De Bono's work? I am not interested. Do you think anyone else would be interested? I'm not trying to be disagreeable, but I'm using my free will to disagree with you, you see.
That's great. It's to illustrate that external factors that we are mostly unaware of and over which we have no conscious control.
I agree that there is a subconscious to our consciousness. But at the same time, you're claiming that there's no such thing as a consciousness for us to do. So we're just mind drones that have only subconscious. That's what I'm getting at from your really awkward introduction. I'm sorry to break it to you. Your introduction took a tenth of the video, and normally the introduction should be fascinating, which you did get me hooked up, but for the wrong reasons. You see, talking about food and the doctors prescribing Marmite, a seasoning aka food supplement, to the Middle East who have supposed zinc deficiency. Where's the studies? I can see that. I want to now actually know. Basically, people who have deficiency in nutrition, of course they're going to have all sorts of problems. Of course, it's common sense, and they'll be ill. But I don't think that is the main point to this argument. I think you just gone off a tangent. Main point to your argument. I think you can't use that to debunk free will. Not because I'm dogmatic, because it's in the wrong context. You think it's solid? Fine. You believe what you believe, but listen to the core concepts of your audience who give zero fuck. Sorry, my language. He give zero about what food, about the study.
At least in part determine our consciousness, which in turn determines our decisions. A lack of zinc can indeed cause us to make aggressive decisions, just as a dose of caffeine can make us choose to be productive. But what am I...
Choose to be productive. That's a big fallacy here. You don't drink coffee to be productive. It's to energize you, you dumb ass. Are you fucking idiot? Who drink coffee to choose to be productive? People drink coffee in order to get the attention span they need for the job. It's a need for the work. I don't want to drink coffee but for me to stay awake at night. It's the best thing to do, which I sometimes do, but not all the time. So you see, how are you going to persuade me in this way? Try to using these really out of touch analogies and so-called to go against this philosophy which you consider not factual, when you are throwing very ambiguous counterpoints.
Getting at here, all these discoveries prove is that part of our consciousness is predetermined.
You haven't even given us a study to show how it's proved. Your video is only 8 minutes. It's like Jason Unruh talking about how USSR debunked is still socialist.
Not that all of it is. So what's my point? Well, the realization and subsequent proof that external factors, at least in part...
Okay, I need to translate this easily for the viewers. Basically, what he's getting here, in a simple term, in hindsight, is that all these ideas of free will and freedom are all ridiculous illusions that all come from predetermined factual empirical science, which is rooted in determinism. You know what is determinism? Okay. Oh, my screen fell off.
Determine our consciousness has led many of humanity's greatest minds to suspect that our consciousness might be entirely determined by
our birth, our genetics. That has always been the no. That have no relevance to the context that you want to get. I'm sorry, it gives the average Joe zero context here. You're just going to confuse people.
External factors. That despite the fact we're conscious, we're no more free than the wind.
Despite we're conscious, we're no more free than the wind. Are you playing pong with me? Okay, fine. Please do.
This, needless to say, is a very compelling hypothesis that, if true, would have unprecedented effects on our notions of...
Wait, it's not true yet. That's the thing. If it's true, you say if, then where's the scientific fact that you're trying to give us here? Are you just going to leave it to if it's true? When did ever if become true? I'm sorry, you have to, if you claim that you're certain that there's no free will, then you need to give us substantial empirical evidence that is, for us, the audience, pragmatic enough to absorb. But in hindsight, you have been waffling about in this video. I'm sorry, I don't know what have been on your side.
Praise, blame, pride, and guilt.
What? We use this to blame, pride. What? Why do you have such a negative connotation of free will? Do you not understand free will? Originally, free will was conjured up by all sorts of people, not just religious people, including, of course, Pythagoras, who had the free will to run through a field of peace, I think he was peace, run through a field which would have saved his life, but because he loves not, he has the free will to not run, so he didn't run, so his captors murdered him. That's how he died. He took his free will, used his free will to do something that he shouldn't be doing. That's a negative connotation. But what you know that free will can be used for good, just as evil it can be, or as well as a nuisance. Free will, we can use free will to empower yourself. For example, not being passive, not be deterministic in thought and be rabid anti-stuff and be edgy and edgelord and stuff. It's simplifying a bit too much. I was ready to go in quite a long time.
But that's all it's ever been, an untested hypothesis.
Untested hypothesis, free will. But you have your zinc experiment wasn't even tested, did it?
That is.
Nani?
Is until very recently, with the birth and rapid advancement of neuroscience.
Dogmatism to the highest level. Stop spreading propaganda. Get to the point.
However, before we move on to neuroscience, I want to clear up an extremely prevalent myth about this position, which for those of you unaware is known in philosophy as determinism. The myth is that determinism is another word for fatalism, which is the...
Of course we don't think of fatalism. Who? You mean the average Joe thinks that determinism is fatalism, that the assertion that absolutely everything is predetermined and that therefore absolutely everything is inevitable, Newtonian determinism. What the hell? Newton wasn't even a proper determinist. He just had natural laws, and plus, in his life he was an alchemist behind back doors. Yes, Isaac Newton was an alchemist. The biggest, it's like black magic, basically, a witch doctor stuff.
Assertion that absolutely everything is predetermined, and that therefore...
Why are you explaining this definition to us?
Or absolutely everything is inevitable. The truth, however, is that while many fatalists call themselves determinists, and hence...
Oh god, fatalists calling themselves determinists. How you... Oh, it's like saying liberals call themselves progressives because they want to be progressives. It's just absolutely terrible explanation on his part. I'm sorry, what has gone on with him? Sorry, I may be yelling too much, but...
To exacerbate this myth, determinism is merely the assertion that human consciousness is predetermined.
Determinism, the assertion that human consciousness is predetermined. That's right, that's the right definition from this all along, of course. But, you see, you're missing something here. Determinism. This determinist materialism that way you missed. Determinism is quite broad if you put it in context. In a definition, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a simple explanation. So please stop using definitions.
It makes no claim whatsoever about the rest of the universe.
Oh, gosh. Isn't that anti-determinist? If you think anything outside of your little bubble, or outside of anything that is reductionist materialist, you're simply you're simply predetermined. You simply either believe in free will or you're a lunatic or a heretic. Back then they say, like, even like, you know, social justice. Social justice was alive and well back then during the Roman Catholic era. They didn't use social justice to improve people's lives, of course, but they did use it to manipulate and distort facts using preconceived authoritarian or authoritative notions that suits the status quo. And for him to be speaking about how human consciousness is predetermined, that auto-determinism is a very big misnomer. Or I could say he is double standard himself, or double stands himself. I'm not trying to accuse him.
Now I grant that this distinction might seem pedantic, but it's not. It's extremely important, and the reason
Can you stop using adverbs and verbs like intensifiers? Stop using intensifiers for extremely poetically, and you said absolutely important. Isn't you taking on the trait of fatalism? Why are you saying it in this manner?
for this is because many people are convinced that various studies in quantum mechanics have demonstrated that the quantum world is random, and that therefore determinism is false. But with the
we don't say quantum mechanics is random. What? Who thinks quantum mechanics is random? Random is conceived by chaos. Chaos is randomless. And don't say this. Anarchism is not randomness or chaos. If you fall into this trap, you good gracious me, you shouldn't even be a evolution person. You shouldn't be a evolved person. You should be actually a dogmatic person. Dogmatic people are actually those ones who haven't even yet meet consciousness. For example, people who deny existence of the paranormal or deny the existence of the abnormal that explains some parts of the world. But you say it's the small percentage, so we should just discard it. No, we shouldn't.
Definition clearly presented on screen, I'm sure you can see the issue here. Even if the quantum world is non-deterministic, this would not invalidate determinism. Sure, it would invalidate fatalism, but it would not invalidate determinism.
In what way?
With this myth now thoroughly addressed,
definitions, of course, thus parallel to one another. Their impositions do not conjure another sort of semantic that plays words around your mouth.
let's look at what neuroscience has to say. In 1983, the pioneering scientist Benjamin Libet
Can we get to the point, please?
conducted a study in which he wired up subjects to an EEG machine to measure their brain activity. He then put a timer in front of them, asked them to consciously decide to perform a hand movement, perform the hand movement, and then report the...
This is what Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris used as evidence that free will is not able to be measured. Free will is illusion. Freedom is illusion. How authoritarian can you be? Everything of life is biological. That's what you're saying. This scientist, he done a study which could not be replicable. We to this day cannot replicate the study. It may sound rude, but do we have enough substantial evidence that you have shown her to show that double-blind study for this? This person didn't even do a double-blind study, by the way, of this guy who was moving his hands of his free will and testing if he is doing it of his free will, and then the machines was able to track that he was about his head was doing electronic signals. Basically, the guy had electronic signals which were found to have triggered his movements. So that means it's so there's no free will from that. So we're just all puppets on a string. So then that's the contradiction here. Then who is the person manipulating our lives then? If we don't have free will, then who is manipulating our lives? Of course you're not going to say it's God, but I bet you're going to say in your future response video that it's a higher being or some higher consciousness or subconsciousness that plays this role. But this is all guesswork. You don't have any factual substantial evidence to back it up, though. I need strong empirical evidence. That's what science is. It's verified by the conclusion, not by the process of which you try to model people around.
The exact time that they have made a conscious 100 milliseconds concerns. Namely, that the brain activity didn't predict a specific outcome of a choice, and that the delay was only a few hundred milliseconds, which means
few hundred milliseconds isn't significant. Do you know that? 1 centimeter is more significant than 1 millimeters of a second. Okay, so I mean 1 second. Yes.
Means that this simply could have been due to latency. But in
yes, it's due to latency.
2008, in response to these criticisms, Chun
Where did he do a double-blind study? I'm sorry, I haven't seen any double-blind studies on this video.
Soon conducted a...
Oh gosh, this is so poorly written, I can't bear this. I'm done with this. Rationality Rules, you have not given substantial evidence to debunk free will. If you truly wanted to debunk free will, then you shouldn't even have rationality in the first place. Because then you'll be a person who drools around and thinks what everyone collectively thinks. There are people who individually think. Then if free will isn't there, then why are people transgenders transitioning? It may seem like a tangent as a double standard, but we don't care about theories because a lot of theories in science have been proven to be false. For example, the plum pudding experiment that claims that atoms could go through who are really like solid. Atoms are solid. Plum pudding model claims atoms are solid. Then Professor Rutherford did the experiment with gold foil, which showed the exact opposite, and it was quite significant from 10,000. It wasn't like 1 millisecond. It was like from 10,000, 200 balls. That's still significant for a small amount. That's the gold foil bounced off it. It didn't go straight through the atoms, that the alpha beams that went through the tin foil. Didn't go completely through. Some of them rebounded back. That's what I'm saying. And now we have this newer and better model. So I think you better need to check your science and have the idea that science is never settled. Thank you.